I've just bought this 2013 BMW for £1,450, but it's got some big problems.
It's got a mystery coolant leak and the gearbox sounds like this.
But fixed, it should be worth over £3,500, and I need that money to build a diesel M3 Touring.
So I used the Swooper app to find me this bargain 3 series, and now I've bought it, it's time to take the first big risk.
Because the first thing I want to tackle is this gearbox.
Oh gosh.
So, we got a brand new second-hand gearbox for just under 300 quid, which I think is really cheap. So hopefully me and Ryan can bang that in the car in a couple of hours, take it for a drive, and fingers crossed it's not grinding from first to second.
And the first step to fixing this is taking off the under tray of the car before removing all of the heat shield bolts, and then we remove the gearbox mount bracket before removing the gearbox mounts, and that gives us just enough space to remove the prop shaft from the prop shaft donut. And now usually this prop shaft is really tough to get out the back, but on this one,
wow, that came out easy.
No, that's brilliant, that's it.
Chuffy.
So with that chuffing prop shaft out of the way, we can disconnect the reverse sensor, and whilst Ryan's taking off the clutch slave cylinder, I started unbolting all of the bell housing bolts which connects the gearbox to the engine. So in just an hour or so, everything's disconnected from the gearbox. I disconnected the gear linkages off camera.
And we are so close to dropping this box out, but we're going to leave it till tomorrow now because it's getting a bit late. We've got one bolt of the bell housing to remove, which is right on the very top, and there's one gear linkage to remove. So in the morning, that should take 10-20 minutes to get them done. Drop the box, fix it, clean it, sell it. Right then, it's the next day and I need Ryan's help to take this gearbox out, so I'm waiting for him, and whilst I do wait, I want to investigate this coolant leak. The seller said that it's from the oil filter housing, which doesn't make a lot of sense for me, but that's here. So I'm going to have a look around and see if I can see any reasons for it leaking. It didn't make sense to me that it was the oil filter housing because I couldn't think of why coolant would be there, and I was right. So the oil filter housing is here, and there's a coolant pipe that runs alongside it, right next to it, and that had a wet mark on the side, so when I started squeezing the rubber pipe attached to it, you could start to see bubbles and coolant coming out the side. So it looks like that is our coolant leak, which is good news and bad news because one, I found it, but also it looks like an absolute pain. That coolant pipe right down there runs right up to the head under this intake manifold. So it looks like I'm going to have to remove the intake manifold to get to this pipe, which is annoying, but I'm hoping to make a lot of money on this flip. But before this, I want to address a question I'm getting in the comments all the time. How do I get my cars so cheap? Well, I've flipped well over 50 cars and I'm making more profit now than I ever have before since I found the SWOOPA app, because it gives me a notification instantly when an underpriced car is listed on Facebook, Gumtree, Auto Trader or eBay. And on top of that, it has this super simple price ranking system
which instantly gives you an idea of how good the bargain is based on the description, the mileage, the age and other cars that are similar to it.
This is genuinely a game changer for me because I don't have to waste time going through Facebook or eBay trying to figure out how much a car will sell for when I don't know much about it. And this is so important because whilst I'm doing that, other traders are messaging the seller trying to get the car for themselves. And wasting these first few minutes when an ad first goes live will lose you the sale. For example, on this BMW, I messaged the seller just 15 minutes after the ad went live and there was already someone on the way to go and pick up the car. But luckily for me, they never showed up, so I got the chance to go and have a look. And the only reason that I got to see it was because I was the second person that messaged. It's also got this AI evaluation, and this estimates best case repair costs, worst case repair costs, and how much profit it thinks you can make. Honestly, I couldn't go back to flipping cars without this app anymore. I get so much better deals now. And you can use it to find anything, cheap phones, sofas, literally anything. Luckily, Swooper are supporting the channel and they're offering you a 7-day free trial, so make sure you click the link in the description and make an extra £1,000 this month or this weekend.
Back to removing this intake manifold. And despite already doing the intake manifold on my own diesel BMW, this was very different. So I took the top off the fuse box and pulled these wires out just to give a little more space, and then with that rubber weather seal off the top of the engine bay, I can start removing the entire scuttle panel to give me access to more of the bolts that hold this thing in. Well, this looks a lot more difficult than I was expecting, to be honest. There's all of these connections that you have to unplug that go around the whole engine bay so that we can lift out, and we might have to take out all of this as well just to get the intake manifold off. But to finish off the job, I started underneath the car. Because Ryan's finally arrived, we're gonna finish the gearbox.
Okie dokie.
And with that gearbox removed after getting rid of the final bell housing bolt and the gear linkages, with it out from underneath the car.
With the new gearbox, we want to make sure it's got the right amount of oil, so we're going to drain it and then refill it with some fresh gear oil.
But never undo the drain plug without first checking that the fill plug comes out, because if you do this and the fill plug is stuck, then you're stuck with a gearbox with no oil in it. So after we just cracked off the bottom, we made sure the fill plug came all the way out, and then we could remove that bottom plug and drain it out. But not much came out.
Good job we didn't send that, eh?
And what I mean is, it's a good job we didn't just bang it straight in the car, because with this little oil, that gearbox would not have lasted a long time at all. So I'm really glad we checked this.
Never seen a guy look so confused. That's sick that it's got the little tube on it.
That is crazy. Just walk it up.
And finally, with the gearbox full of the right amount of oil, all we needed to do was torque up the fill plug bung and fit it back in the car.
Talks back on this puppy.
Probably about. Not quite.
Huh?
No. I'd say.
That'll do, donkey, I reckon.
So with the fill plug professionally installed, the gearbox goes back under the car on a jack, jacked up to mate with the engine and pushed back into place.
Yeah. You're in.
And then everything in reverse. So refitting the slave cylinder with its bracket, finishing off the rest of the bell housing bolts, and then mounting up the gearbox mount bracket back up to the car. And with this exhaust bracket back on, the gearbox is finished.
But I'm not putting that under tray on just yet, because there was a clunk when we had it on the test drive and it sounded like it was from the front right. I'm going to see if I can diagnose which arm is making that clunk and hopefully replace the right one. With not much effort at all, that is spinning really easy. And if you get a crowbar, look at that. That's got far too much play. So
I'm going to take the wheel off this corner to get a bit more access, undo the nut from the ball joint and slide that out.
And it's not seized. Amazingly, they're always seized on.
Which was a huge relief, and then took the bolt and the nut out of the other end to get this arm free.
That took 2 minutes, not like 4 hours.
And now this crowbar trick is super useful if you've got any knocks or bangs in your car. I'd say it's the easiest way to tell which arm needs replacing. And all we need to do now is put the other end of the arm back in. And after a bit of coaxing with a hammer, I can tighten that up. Fingers crossed it fixes the knock.
That is everything under the car all finished. The under tray's still off because we've still got this inlet manifold to take off to replace that coolant pipe. And if we drop any bolts or bits or sockets, it's way easier to get them without the under tray on. And now we got to take this entire intake manifold off to change that one coolant pipe.
And I had to keep reminding myself that I'm doing this for a lot of profit, because figuring out how many wires I had to unplug, how many bolts I had to undo to move the wiring harness around, and then I figured out I had to remove the airbox to get space at the front of the engine. But after far too long, I finally managed to unplug everything I needed to get enough play in the inlet manifold. So I disconnected the other side and drained that into a bucket of water.
Oh, it's all going in the bucket.
That's why I placed it there.
Holy.
And then really carefully unbolted the coolant pipe bolts on the head of the engine, holding them with a magnet to make sure I didn't drop them and lose them. And finally, that pipe can be replaced.
Alrighty, that pipe is finally replaced. What a nightmare moving this intake manifold. But now it's just a case of trying to figure out where all of these wires go back and trying to put the car back together again. It shouldn't be too hard, but luckily you guys will just whiz through it on a time lapse, but I'm going to have to do some working out here.
And now this wasn't actually as hard as I thought it would be. Most of the plugs would only go in one place, and the wiring loom made it pretty obvious where everything went. But if you are enjoying the video, make sure to click the like button and the subscribe button so you get notified whenever I post a new video, because over 90% of you guys aren't subscribed, and that hurts my feelings.
It is all back together again. The last thing to do before cleaning it and selling it is filling it up with coolant and bleeding it to make sure that there's no airlocks or anything like that. And we need to test that gearbox to make sure it's not grinding gears anymore. We need to do the bleed procedure, which is, what is it, Will?
Coolant bleeding procedure.
Hey!
Ignition on. Heaters on max. And then full accelerator for 10 seconds.
It's supposed to be doing a thing. It's not doing a thing.
Now for some reason we couldn't get the car to bleed itself, so we did it the old fashioned way, with the engine running.
And after taking that inlet manifold off, and honestly can't remember if I put all the sensors back on, it runs fine. Before we test the gearbox, there's one last thing I want to do. We were looking through the service history and it's really good up until recently. It's definitely due one. So we're going to jack the car up, drop the oil and replace it with some fresh oil and a new oil filter.
And with that new filter fitted inside the car, I used a horrible Halford set to fit this to keep my good ones clean. And now after you've filled your car up with oil,
it's always handy to lower the car before measuring how much oil's in there, because if it's tilted like that, you might get an incorrect reading. I don't know how off it'll be, but we're going to drop the car and check the oil.
Perfect.
It's time to test this gearbox and fingers crossed there is no crunching in first to second. What do you reckon, Will?
No chance. Gotta trust the breakers.
Trust the breakers. I don't trust the breakers, I'm not gonna lie. The car is all back together again. We did look if there was any leaks and there was no leaks with the coolant, so that pipe is all good, but now it's time to see if that £300 second-hand gearbox has fixed this crunching in first and second gear.
And this was a scary moment, because if we still have a crunch in first to second, we've just wasted £300 and we'd have to take the gearbox out, send it back and wait for another one to arrive.
You ready? Ready. Oh! Yeah, that is absolutely mint. Driving stabilisation.
And after being really scared about this light coming out, worrying that we'd done something wrong, the code cleared itself up and it didn't come back on.
I'm putting that down to, yeah, everything's been unplugged and plugged back in. I mean, I think we put everything back together properly.
And at the time, me and Will were so worried about the gearbox, we didn't even think, but the clunk from the front right had completely gone and the car was driving perfectly.
Oh. First to second doesn't crunch at all. I actually feel like it is mad lucky getting a second-hand gearbox and it cleared up that crunch, because the gearboxes on these, especially the 320Ds, they always crunch in first to second. So, literally clean it today. List it for sale. Right, let's clean it.
And you always want to start with the wheels because they're the dirtiest part, covered in dirt and brake dust. And with that wheel cleaner, it removes all the brake dust and the wheels look so much better. And after that, I give the car a good snow foam and use a really soft bristle brush to get into all the cracks that a wash mitt won't, like the fuel cap and the gaps between panels, logos or window seals. And once you've cleaned all that, it's time to rinse off the car. But this time you're going to go from the bottom to the top, because if you start at the top, all the snow foam's going to run off and you've got no lubrication for the water. Next is getting a good quality wash mitt and some good quality shampoo to wash down the car. And now always start from the top, and it's better to do straight lines from the front of the car to the back, because this way if you do introduce any slight swirl marks, they'll be much harder to see. Now cleaning the car is one of the most important parts about flipping cars straight after buying it at the right price. And this is because if someone sees a car for sale that's dirty, they're going to subconsciously value it lower than if it looks brand new. It looks looked after, it looks cared for, and potential buyers will automatically think mechanically it's going to be better condition as well. Another little thing that makes a big difference is cleaning the inside of the door shuts and underneath the boot lid, because these areas often get ignored, and if they're sparkling clean, it adds so much value to the car. Now, I used to run a mobile detailing business, and I spent literally years looking for the best products to use and the best value for money to increase my profits. So I'll list all the products that I use in the description down below, so if you're not sure what to buy to clean your car, you'll have a list of the best stuff. And when drying your car, you want to be really gentle with the drying cloth and try and go in straight lines again. But after this first quick basic clean,
the car is already looking absolutely fantastic, but there's a few little things I want to do. I need to clean all the glass to make sure there's no smears. We need to add some tyre dressing. I think we're going to polish it, and then we need to sort out the interior.
And if you're being a perfectionist like me, cleaning glass is actually really hard to get right. And the easiest way I find is with Turtle Wax's glass cleaner and 2 microfibers.
Now, if you watch the channel, you'll know I used to run a detailing business, and the best polish that I ever found to use was Auto Glim Super Resin Polish.
And this is like a cheat code for cleaning your car, because it's super quick and easy to apply. All you need to do is get an applicator, dab a few spots around the paintwork, and then do circles up and down and then left and right. Do that twice and then leave it on the car for like 15 to 30 minutes, and then you can buff it all off. And honestly, the cameras don't do it justice how good it is. Once I'm finished, I'll show you some cinematics of the car and you'll agree this car looks so good with this polish.
Right, now we've finished the exterior, it's time to give this interior a good clean, and this one is full of old sweet wrappers and nasties. Oh, that is so f***ing grim. Look at that rancidness. Batman!
Oh, I was gonna do it then, but I'm not gonna do it since. Not on plan.
And I didn't film cleaning much of the inside, but after a hoover and a wipe down, this car is looking phenomenal. Now, after being able to fix the car in just a weekend and get it cleaned, any big profit from this is a massive bonus because it was so quick. But I am hoping this car gets me a lot closer to my £5,000 goal so that I can build my car into an M3 killer.
It's time to take some pictures, list it all for sale, and hope we get a big profit to add to our budget for my Diesel Sleeper BMW. But this isn't the first video contributing to this BMW build. So far, I've made over £500 on this Z4 and over £1,500 on this Seat, leaving me with just over £2,000 out of the £5,000 I need. So, how close can this BMW get us to the £5,000 we need to start building this M3 killer? Well, after a couple of days of the car being listed for £3,500, I definitely could have got more, but I really wanted a quick sale to get the video out for you guys. So I accepted £3,000 on the dot. And after spending £1,450 on the car, £275 on the gearbox, £20 on the coolant pipe, £17.49 on insurance, £8.90 to get the train to go and pick up the car, just £3 on tax, £59.15 on that front arm that needed doing, £0 on gearbox oil because I already had some left over from my car, and £38.98 on the service. All in all, I made £1,127.48 profit. Not bad for a weekend's work, leaving me with £3,206.37 to build my BMW. 2 flips to go. Like the video and make sure you click subscribe so you don't miss the next in this series.